I forgot I was going to tilt the camera up a little bit more. Am I fine? Maybe I'm fine. We live with our choices. Hello humans. My name is Dale Kingsmill. We're doing a video. Ooh, why am I talking like that? So a while back, a long time ago, I can still remember, I made a couple of videos about like homebrew ideas, like house rules that I've stolen from other people that I found just around the internet and different places that I sort of, took on for my own game. And I loved making those videos. And the comment sections ended up being full of even more brilliant ideas. And I only did 2 of them. I mean, I did the video game ones, but that's a different vibe. And I just don't understand. It's been years since the last one of these. We gotta do one. We gotta do one. Let's do a video. Stuff I Stole, Part 3. Let's do it. Yeah. This is why you should plan your introductions, because otherwise you end up doing a very bad cheer routine. Okay. Number 1, let's start sort of nice and simple. This one's more specific than most of the others that I've got here to like the way that crits work in 5e and sort of similar D20 games. I genuinely haven't internalized enough of the weapon changes or like do crits work differently in 5.5? I don't know. I haven't absorbed that information properly, but I still find this house rule useful to my home game, so maybe you'll find it useful to yours. So you're hearing about it now from me. You can't stop me. I can't be stopped. So I saw this specifically from u/2/4 over on Reddit, and they called it crit insurance. So we all know how much it sucks to roll a nat 20, get a crit, and then you go to do damage and you roll a 1. It doesn't matter whether you are doubling the damage or rolling the dice twice, a 1 tanks it, tanks the whole experience. Especially if you're playing as like a fighter and you've got your like D10 longsword, or maybe you splashed out and you got the great sword or whatever that does the 2d6. Ooh, you roll low on that crit and you've got nothing. You're a loser. The rogue's over there. He's laughing. He didn't roll a crit, but he's just done 27 damage with all of his sneak attack dice. And don't even get me started on the paladin. They're over there. They've been saving up, waiting until they did roll a crit. Now they're pumping in smite damage just to do even more with their crit. You crit, you've done 4. You did 4 damage. It's garbage. And so I'm sure we've all heard different proposed solutions to this. We've tried our hand at it ourselves. But this is maybe the first of these solutions that strikes me as like properly equitable. u/2/4 suggests that a critical hit should enable you what do they say? A critical hit should allow you to deal your damage plus the max result of 1 of the damage dice of your choice. So no matter what, you will be dealing more than the maximum amount of damage that you could have dealt if it wasn't a crit. So that's already better. That already feels, we're in a feel-good place. I feel like it also adds a little extra spice to weapon choice a little bit. Like it makes a difference to choose the D10 longsword over the 2d6 greatsword now. Like there's a little bit of ooh in that. And the paladin and the rogue sort of pocket of things gets evened out a little bit, because even though they're still getting the benefit, this version of a crit just lets them choose 1 dice worth of damage to add to the pile instead of like doubling the entire thing. I don't claim that this like fixes the age-old problem of rolling a 20, and that feels really exciting, but then the results that come after rolling the nat 20 never feel as exciting as the nat 20 did. But look, baby steps. We'll get there. Number 2, Bob World Builder blew my mind with this one. When he said it, let me tell you, I literally gasped. Alone, out loud, in my house. I gasped. He said, just don't track movement speed. Just don't track it. Just ignore it. Ignore movement speed. That's what he said. And look, I understand that for a lot of games, if you are doing like crunchy, tactical, battle map heavy campaigns, if you run your games on a strict VTT that really likes the rules as written, if you have a class or a subclass or whatever where movement-based abilities are part of their benefits, and so taking away those aspects of their character would suck for the player. Look, I get it. I understand. There are a lot of situations where this rule, it just can't fit. It just won't work for you and your table. I completely accept that. But to me, the person who once went online and said on YouTube in front of people that maybe we just shouldn't track monster hit points and just vibe it out instead. That house rule, that is very, very intriguing to me. Nice first chapter, I am intrigued. Number 3, I know a guy.
You know a guy.
Everyone and their grandma have probably already heard this house rule. It originated, I believe, with David Nett on Twitter. I don't think he has a Twitter anymore, but I think he's on Instagram, maybe? But Nett described it as kind of like the Lando Calrissian rule, right? Like how in Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo is like, well, I have a friend, Lando, who would be able to help us out. He would be able to help us out, if he isn't still mad about that one thing. I really hope I'm remembering Empire Strikes Back correctly. I was gonna check while I was writing this stuff down, but I couldn't remember the Disney Plus login. Couldn't remember the password. You know, back in my day, we had DVD players instead of a million streaming services. Bah humbug and all that. So the idea of this house rule is that once per campaign, per player character, when the party hit a narrative speed bump or find themselves, in a pinch, a player is allowed to declare, I know a guy. And then they get to describe an NPC that they're kind of just making up on the fly, an NPC who would be able to help them out with this specific jam. So for example, I don't know, you need a resurrection ritual stat. It's okay, I know a cleric who lives nearby. Then the GM might ask you to roll a charisma check to see how that NPC feels about their relationship with your player character. Because maybe their relationship is actually a little bit complicated, Yeah, you do know a cleric, but with that 6 that you rolled, you're the one who made them lose faith in their god and leave the church. And so actually it's gonna take a bit of convincing to get them to pick up the holy water again. So that's the basic shape of the idea. But my favorite take on this house rule, and the place where I first encountered it, comes from Ryan Imel DM, who makes excellent content. If you haven't encountered him across the various platforms, Ryan very astutely observed that his players weren't really engaging with this house rule that much. They knew it was an available option, but either they would forget about it in the heat of the moment maybe, or maybe they were trying to save it up and not use this precious resource because they knew they only had one of them per campaign, which is, such a player instinct, right? But what if I need this health potion later, I say while dying. And so what Ryan did was he made little sort of sealed envelopes and handed them out to each player at the start of the campaign so that when they use their I know a guy, that's when they're allowed to open the envelope. And inside the envelopes would be some fun little bonus thing. It might be an item that they could gain if they go and talk to this I know a guy friend. Or it might be some cool personalized story hook. Honestly, you could hide all sorts of things inside these envelopes. Maybe even the complications to the relationship are something that is revealed within the envelope. Imagine finally opening your I know a guy secret dossier. You pull the slip out of the envelope and you see you owe them 500 gold. I, for one, would be thrilled at my own misfortune. I mean, obviously your mileage may vary, but the key of the thing is that adding this level of mystery to it adds temptation to entice your players to engage with the rule, which is great because I think that when it works, this house rule can really add a lot to fleshing out player characters and the world that you're playing in. The devil's bargain and also push your luck style mechanics. Now, these sorts of mechanics, they're all over RPG design. They're probably closer to just being rules to steal from other games than actual, like, house rules, I guess. Like, I know Blades in the Dark has a Devil's Bargain mechanic, and Call of Cthulhu has, like, push your luck mechanics. But I reckon mechanics like this, they're pretty easy to implement in any game of choice if you know the system. So 2 examples I've seen out there for D20 games. One from Reddit, Tomestcool. Anyway, immediately after a D20 roll, either a player or a GM can suggest a Devil's Bargain. The player can choose to change that D20 roll to either its maximum or minimum possible result. So, like, I don't know, they rolled bad on their saving throw, they would like to roll good, they can make the Devil's Bargain. A bad guy rolled a crit against them, they can make the Devil's Bargain. They want to crit against the bad guy, they can make a Devil's Bargain. But in exchange, the GM now has the ability in the future to also change the results of a D20 roll to either its max or its minimum value based on what they want to happen, as long as it's connected to that same character. So, like, you might decide to turn your roll into a crit so that you can double smite the Lich to death, end the combat, glory, riches, what have you. But someday in the future, when you're unconscious and you roll a nat 20 on your death saving throw, was the bargain worth it? Was it? Only you can decide. And also a comment? That's not how humans speak. A comment from Kevin Griffith on the last one of these videos that I did. Kevin adapts the push mechanic from Call of Cthulhu, so if a character attempts something and fails, they can choose to try one more time, but the difficulty goes up. And the consequences are bigger if they fail again. So they gave a great example of a rogue picking a lock. They fail the check, they could just give up, sneak away, no harm, no foul, or they could try again. It's a little harder this time, but they've got that sweet expertise going for them. I mean, what are the chances of failing the check twice? Am I right? But this time, if they do fail again, they won't just not bypass the lock, they will be spotted by the guards and things will get messy quick. It's fun. I like these little Faustian temptations. Yum yum Faustian temptations. Number 5, also from the comments of the last video, because again, these videos always get heaps and heaps of great ideas shared in the comments. Please share your great ideas in the comments, because it's just like there were like 800 plus on both the last videos. It is so friggin' inspiring. Anyway, Fungal Mage in the comments of the last video suggested a sort of like vengeance boost that I quite liked. So whenever a PC drops to 0 hit points and is unconscious, they can choose one other party member to get a D6 sort of bardic style inspiration dice that they can use. It's like, Avenge Me!
Avenge me! No!
And then if a PC actually dies in combat, proper dies, then everyone in the party gets a D12 inspiration die that they can use. And I just think that's pretty fun and thematic and, you know, encourages this party bonding that I like. And it goes a little way to sort of preventing death spirals in particularly nasty combats. So that's, that's nice. And number 6, this one's quite fun, Coyote Time, which I picked up from Trakairos on YouTube. So basically, falling just isn't that interesting in RPGs, right? Specifically in 5e, but I honestly, I can't think of a game system where falling is very interesting at all. I mean, barring the goldfish incident in Critical Role.
You jump from 1,000 feet in the air. Totally logical.
I'm gonna write a
You
thing.
can't even see
I'm
the
gonna write a
water
thing.
or rocks, but you're like, yep, I'm a golden god.
That did make me laugh till I wept. But that was an outlier and should not have been counted. What is much more interesting than falling is almost falling, is maybe falling, is will you falling. When will you wear wigs?
When will you wear wigs?
What is much more interesting is this moment of hang time where the players have to fly by the seat of their pants and improvise a way to stop another character from falling. Catch them, do something to stop them from plummeting to their death. So anyway, Trikairos suggests a really simple fix. He calls it Coyote Time. Inspired, obviously, by the cartoons where Wile E. Coyote runs off the edge of a cliff and just hovers in midair for a second before he falls. So when a player character is shoved off a cliff or thrown through a window or like knocked off a dragon's back mid-flight, instead of falling immediately, they have to like sit there knowing that they will fall at their next turn end. It just gives the players a chance to like be creative, feel that little like adrenaline spike as they're scrambling for all the options that they might possibly have at hand. It's so much more cinematic than just calculating the fall distance and applying the damage. Plus, in my opinion, it empowers GMs to use sort of much cooler set pieces, like dramatic cliff tops or whatever, in their combat encounters, or certainly to use those dramatic set pieces in more dramatic ways. Swoop that narrow bridge with them harpies. Treat yourself.
3 words for you. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. You deserve it. So that's it for the house rules I'm sharing with you today. Please, again, share yours in the comments. I want to read them with my eyeballs. Specifically, also, I would love to see what your house rules are for any system, like not just D&D. I want to see your house rules for other games too. I also, just while I'm here, want to give a quick shout out to the patrons and the YouTube channel members, because you make my videos possible. And no matter how much or how little you're able to give, I am immensely grateful that you choose to give to me, that you go that extra mile to support me. So thanks a heap for that. So apart from that, that's it. I'm done. Email this to your grandma and we are out of here. All right. I feel like a nerd. Don't let them know, Jack. Don't let them know I'm a nerd.